The sun was setting on the quiet alien world of Tolara, painting the sky with soft purple and orange colors. Most evenings on this peaceful planet were silent. Birds glided across the sky, the rivers sparkled, and the tall crystal trees glowed with gentle blue light. But on this day something felt wrong. Something heavy, like a shadow sitting on every mind. The Tolari people, small green-skinned aliens with bright blue eyes, could feel danger approaching, even before they heard the news. Their instincts were strong. They were a calm and gentle species, but they knew when evil was coming. Inside the council hall, an old building made of white stone, leaders from every Tolari region gathered. Their faces showed fear. Their hands shook slightly as they pressed glowing buttons on the round table in the center. The room buzzed with whispers. Council leader Aaron stood at the head of the table. He was old. His skin faded from bright green to a softer shade, but his mind was still sharp. "Silence," he said softly. The whispers stopped immediately. Aaron pressed a switch and a large hologram flickered to life above the table. It showed a dark shape moving through space, slow, heavy, and terrifying. Its hull was covered in red markings like scars. Its engines glowed with a deep, angry orange. Someone gasped. Someone else whispered, "No, not them." Aaron nodded sadly. "The Karn Empire," he said. "They have returned." Fear spread through the room like cold wind. The Karn Empire was known across nearby star systems. They were powerful, brutal, and merciless. They conquered worlds, destroyed cities, and enslaved entire species. They did not negotiate. They did not accept surrender. They crushed everything in their path, and now they were coming here. "Our scouts say the Karn fleet will reach us in 7 days, Aaron continued. "We do not have weapons to stop them. We do not have ships fast enough to escape." Silence again, a long, heavy silence. Then a young council member, Lyra, spoke with a trembling voice. "There must be something we can do, anything." Aaron looked at her with sad eyes. "There is one thing," he said. The lights dimmed. Another hologram appeared, this time a recording. A human man, young and injured, lay on a Tolari bed many years ago. His clothes were torn, and his ship had crashed in the northern mountains. The Tolari had found him half dead and nursed him back to life. The recording played his voice. "If your people ever face danger, send a message to the Terran command. Use the code I gave you. I promise, humans pay their debts." Lyra stared at the hologram, surprised. "You think humans will help us?" she asked. Another council member shook his head. He was only one man, and it was so long ago. Aaron raised his hand. "That one man survived because of us. He gave us a communication code. A code only Terrans use. If we activate it, the message will reach them somewhere in the galaxy." "But what if they ignore it?" someone asked. "What if it doesn't reach anyone?" Another said. Aaron's voice became firm. "If there is even a small chance, we must try." The room agreed, not because they believed humans would truly come, but because hope, any hope, was better than waiting quietly for destruction. Aaron stepped toward the ancient communication console. Tolari technology was beautiful but simple. Their small planet never focused on war, only growth and knowledge. But the console held one secret function given by the human they saved long ago. A tall crystal pillar in the center began to glow. "Begin message," Aaron said. A soft tone filled the room. He took a deep breath. "To the Terran command, this is the Council of Tolara. Many years ago, one of your people crash-landed on our world. We gave him shelter, safety, and healing. He told us to send this code if we were ever in danger." His voice shook slightly. "We are in danger now." He explained the approach of the Karn fleet. He explained their weakness and their fear. He did not beg, he did not cry. Tolari voices were calm even in the face of death. When he finished, the console pulsed with bright blue light. "Message sent," it announced. And with that, the council hall fell silent again. They had done everything they could. That night, the whole planet waited. Families stayed close to each other. Shops closed early. Children hid behind their parents, sensing the fear in the air even if they didn't understand it. The crystal forests glowed brighter than usual, as if reacting to the planet's silent tension. In the mountains, the three Tolari who once found the human survivor stood together, remembering the day they carried him out of the wreckage. One of them, Ren, spoke quietly. "Do you think he will remember us?" Another, Sala, shook her head. "He saved his galaxy many times, maybe. Why would he remember a small planet like ours?" The third, Joven, looked up at the sky. "Because we saved him when he could not save himself." They all looked at the stars, hoping. Days passed. No response came. The Karn fleet grew closer. Every hour the Tolari scanners detected more enemy ships entering their system, and every hour the Tolari lost another piece of hope. By the fifth day, panic spread among the people. The markets were empty. The rivers felt too quiet. Even the crystal trees dimmed as if the planet itself felt afraid. On the sixth day, the Tolari finally saw the enemy fleet in the sky, tiny red lights far beyond the clouds, coming slowly but surely. Aaron walked through the capital city, watching his people hug each other, whisper goodbyes, and prepare for the worst. The Tolari were peaceful by nature, but they were not foolish. They knew what awaited them. Lyra approached Aaron. "What will happen tomorrow?" she asked softly. Aaron looked at her, but he could not bring himself to lie. "Tomorrow," he said, "the Karn arrive." "And the humans?" she asked. Aaron lowered his head. There has been no response. Lyra swallowed hard. She looked up at the sky again. "I still believe," she whispered, but her voice carried more sadness than hope. That night was the darkest night Tolara had ever seen. The sky was black, the stars hidden behind thick clouds. The whole world felt silent, as if holding its breath. Aaron stood on the balcony of the council hall, staring at the horizon. He didn't sleep, he didn't leave, he just waited. At dawn, the sun rose slowly, but something else rose with it. A deep vibration, a low hum, a strange light in the sky. Aaron frowned and stepped forward. Then he gasped. A circle of blue light appeared in the upper atmosphere. It swirled like a storm, spinning faster and faster. It grew brighter, then brighter still, until its glow washed over the entire city. People ran outside, confused and afraid. Children pointed at the sky. Lyra stepped out of her home and stared upward in disbelief. The three Tolari in the mountains dropped their tools and looked up. The entire sky seemed to tear open. A giant wormhole formed, massive, glowing, powerful. A wave of energy rolled across the surface of the planet. Birds flew in panic. Water rippled, trees vibrated. And then Aaron's eyes widened as he saw the first ship emerge. It was enormous. White hull, glowing blue engines, clean, sharp edges, thousands of lights across its surface. A Terran battleship. It moved forward like a silent titan. Then another ship appeared, then another, then 10 more, then hundreds, then thousands. A whole fleet larger than anything the Tolari had ever imagined poured out of the wormhole, filling the sky like a metal sea. People cried out, some in fear, some in relief, some in total disbelief. Aaron whispered the words with shaking breath. They came. Behind the battleships, a massive flagship appeared, so huge it dwarfed every other ship in the sky. Its engines glowed with pure, brilliant light. On its hull was a symbol, the Earth, the Terran emblem. The Terran fleet had arrived. But why so many? Why such a powerful force? Why respond with an entire armada for one small planet? A message flashed across the Tolari sky, translated instantly into their language. "This is the Terran Expeditionary Command. We received your call." Aaron felt tears rise in his eyes for the first time in decades. Hope was not dead. Hope had arrived through a wormhole, and the universe would never be the same again. The morning light covered the Tolari capital in soft gold as the people stared upward, unable to speak. No one moved, no one breathed. The sky was filled, completely filled, with Terran warships. It looked as if a second metal sky had formed above their world. Even the wind seemed to stop. Even the birds refused to move. Everyone on Tolara stood frozen, watching the gigantic wormhole pulse in the heavens like a living star. Council leader Aaron gripped the balcony railing. His fingers trembled. For the first time in his life, he felt small, not because of fear, but because of the enormous power and precision the humans displayed. Behind him, Lyra ran onto the balcony, her eyes wide with shock. Is this real?" she whispered. Aaron said nothing. He couldn't. His throat was tight, and his mind struggled to understand how many ships filled the sky. Hundreds, thousands, more. The wormhole swirled like a colossal cosmic hurricane, and another massive battleship glided out of it. Its hull was pure white with deep blue lines, like veins of light running across its armor. The engines glowed with blue fire, and on the front was the symbol of Earth, clear, proud, unmistakable. The biggest ship, the Terran flagship, took its place at the center of the vast formation. It was so large that the Tolari Mountains looked tiny behind it. Aaron whispered, "We called for help, but this is not help." "This is an army," Lyra said quietly. "No," Aaron replied slowly. "It is more than an army, it is a message." Across the countryside, the Tolari people stood outside their homes and farms, staring in awe. For many of them, humans were only a story, something told to children at night. No one on the planet had seen one in many years, but now the sky belonged to the Terrans. In the mountains, the three Tolari who had once saved the young human survivor, Ren, Sala, and Joven, felt their hearts pounding. Sala whispered, "He must have become someone very important." Ren nodded slowly. "Only someone powerful could call such a fleet." Joven stared, eyes shimmering with both fear and wonder. "No, only someone respected." Back in the capital city, the air vibrated as a clear, perfectly translated voice echoed across the entire planet. "This is the Terran Expeditionary Command." The voice was calm, strong, and carried the confidence of a species that had faced the darkness of the galaxy and survived. "We received your distress call." A wave of emotion rolled through the streets of Tolara. Some began to cry. Some lifted their hands toward the sky. Others fell to their knees, overwhelmed. Aaron closed his eyes. Relief washed over him like warm water. For a moment he forgot the coming danger. Then the voice continued, "We are here to protect you. Remain calm, stay indoors, prepare for possible impact." "Impact?" Lyra gasped. "Impact, what does that mean?" Aaron turned pale. "It means the enemy might attack soon." As if answering his words, the horizon suddenly darkened. In the far distance, the first shapes of the Karn Empire's warships appeared, jagged, sharp vessels shaped like giant red talons. Their engines burned with an ugly orange glow, and their hulls were covered in spikes meant for ramming and tearing. The Terran fleet did not move. They waited, silent, ready. Across the planet, Tolari cities shook as the Karn fleet descended from the upper atmosphere. A cold feeling spread across every heart. "They're coming," Lyra whispered. The Terran flagship glowed brighter. A blue energy shield spread across its surface like a shimmering dome. Small Terran escort ships moved into a defensive ring formation, forming a barrier between the planet and the enemy. Aaron could not look away. "I have never seen such discipline." Lyra nodded slowly. "Humans do not come halfway, do they?" "No," Aaron said. "They do not." Suddenly, a smaller Terran shuttle detached from the flagship and began descending toward the capital. Its engines created a gentle hum unlike anything the Tolari had heard before. A communication line opened. "Tolara Council, prepare to receive a human representative." The message flashed across every Tolari screen. Aaron's heart jumped. "They're coming here," he whispered. The shuttle landed on the council hall's landing platform, stirring dust and glowing particles into the air. A ramp extended slowly, clicking into place. A group of Terran soldiers stepped out first, tall, strong, armored in dark blue exosuits that shimmered with energy shields. Their helmets reflected the sunlight like mirrors. Behind them walked a single human man. No armor, no helmet, Just a dark blue uniform with a silver emblem on the chest. He walked calmly, confidently, as if he had walked this path many times before. Aaron felt a strange pull in his memory. Something familiar in the man's face, his posture, the scar above his left eye. Lyra noticed too. "Aaron, do you know him?" Aaron shook his head, confused. The human stopped in front of them. He looked older now, his face more mature, his eyes sharper, filled with experience. But there was no doubt it was him. The same human they had saved long ago. The same young explorer who had crashed in the mountains. The same man who had promised to return if they ever needed him. He smiled gently. "Council Leader Aaron," he said softly, "it's good to see you again." Aaron felt his chest tighten. You remembered us." The man nodded. "Of course I did. Tolari do not forget kindness. Humans do not forget debts." Lyra whispered, "Who are you now?" The human looked at her with warm eyes. "I am Commander Elias Ward, Terran naval hero and fleet commander of the 11th Human Expeditionary Force." She froze. Aaron's eyes widened. "Fleet commander, you command all of this?" Elias nodded once. "Yes, over 9,000 warships." His voice grew serious. "All of them here because of you." Aaron's breath shook. Why send so many ships for us? We are small, weak, not important." Elias placed a hand on his shoulder, his voice softened. "When I crashed on your planet, I had nothing. No food, no water, no way home, but you saved me. Your people carried me, fed me, healed me. I owe my life to Tolara." He looked up at the massive Terran fleet above. "And humans repay what we owe with interest." Aaron felt tears forming in his eyes. Lyra placed a hand over her mouth, trembling. A loud alarm suddenly echoed across the city. The Tolari screens flashed bright red. Karn fleet detected distance, 20,000 km. Elias turned instantly, eyes sharp. "They are early." Aaron swallowed. Are we ready?" Elias tapped a small device on his wrist. "All Terran ships, this is Commander Ward. Prepare defense formation. No enemy vessel touches Tolari airspace. Full shield deployment." His voice carried a steel edge, cold, commanding, absolute. Within moments, thousands of Terran vessels shifted position in perfect coordination. It looked like stars dancing in the sky, forming layers upon layers of protection. The wormhole behind them began to close slowly, fading like a dying sun. Lyra whispered, "They look unstoppable." Elias shook his head. "No one is unstoppable, but humans, we fight hard enough that people think we are." The Karn fleet grew closer. Now the Tolari could see their weapons glowing, dark, violent energy building in their cores. The ground shook as one of the Karn ships released a low, terrifying roar, an energy vibration meant to scare enemies before battle. Children cried and hid behind their parents. Adults held each other tightly. The Tolari had never faced war. Not truly. They did not understand violence the way humans did. Aaron whispered, "They will destroy us." Elias turned to him. "No," he said simply, "they will not." A bright flash cut across the sky. The first Karn shot had been fired. A glowing orange beam came screaming toward the planet. But before it could even reach the atmosphere, a Terran destroyer intercepted it, absorbing the impact with its blue shields. The destroyer shook violently but held steady. Lyra gasped. "They protected us," Elias nodded, "and they will keep doing it." He stepped forward, eyes filled with a burning determination. "Because when the Tolari rescued me, they did not know who I was. They did not know my future. They still chose compassion, and now humanity chooses the same." Aaron looked at the Terran fleet in awe. "Then this is the repayment of our kindness." Elias shook his head. "No, Aaron." His eyes hardened. "This is only the beginning." The Karn fleet moved across the sky like a storm of burning metal. Their ships had jagged edges, glowing scars, and engines that pulsed like angry hearts. Every Tolari child, every elder, every worker stopped to stare upward, frozen in fear. But between the monstrous Karn vessels and the planet below stood the Terran fleet. Thousands of ships arranged in perfect formation. like a great shield made of steel and light. For the first time in Tolari history, their sky was no longer empty. It was a battlefield waiting to happen. The commander walks among them. Commander Elias Ward stood in the council hall's large gathering chamber. His uniform was neat, but dust from the landing pad still clung to his boots. His posture was calm, but his eyes carried the weight of many battles. Aaron, Lyra, and several Tolari council members gathered around him in a circle. They stared at him as though he was a myth come to life. Aaron finally spoke, his voice soft, reverent. "You came back to us as a commander of an entire fleet." Elias gave a small smile. "I came back because you once helped me when no one else could. I wasn't a commander then, I was just a lost explorer." Lyra stepped forward, her voice gentle. "But why this much? Why bring so many ships? Why risk your people for us?" Elias turned to the window, where the Terran fleet glowed above the city like 1,000 suns. "Because one small act of kindness," he said quietly, "can echo across the galaxy." He placed his hand on the glass. "And because the Karn Empire is not just after you, they are after every peaceful world they can reach, including ours." Aaron stiffened. "You mean they attacked humans before?" "Yes," Elias said. "Many times. We have fought them for generations, but this time they came for you. And that means they want a foothold. A base. A resource world, a place to expand." He turned back to the Tolari, his expression serious. "If they take Tolara, they get a direct path toward Terran borders. We will not allow that." The room fell silent. This wasn't just rescue, it was strategy. It was war with consequences far bigger than any Tolari had imagined. The return to the mountains after a few moments, Elias asked, "Where are the ones who found me? The ones who saved me?" Aaron smiled. "They still live in the northern mountains." "Take me to them," Elias said at once. The Terran shuttle rose from the capital like a silver bird. Aaron, Lyra, and Elias sat inside as it blasted through the clouds. Below, the Tolari landscape glittered with crystal trees and soft rivers, untouched by war. The mountains grew larger, covered with pale blue stone and glowing vegetation. When the shuttle landed, 3 Tolari stood waiting: Ren, Sala, and Joven. Ren stepped forward first. His hands trembled as he looked up at the tall human. It is really you," he whispered. Sala covered her mouth, her eyes filling with tears. "You are alive and important." Elias knelt down so he was level with them. "Because of you, you carried me, fed me, and gave me comfort when you had nothing. No Terran fleet could have reached me without you 3. Joven laughed nervously. "We only did what was right." Elias shook his head. "You did more than that. You saved a future commander. You changed the course of a war." The 3 Tolari looked at each other, overwhelmed. They had always believed their actions were simple acts of kindness. They didn't know they had shaped destiny. The darkness approaches as the group walked along the mountain path. A deep rumble shook the ground. Aaron looked up sharply. What was that? Elias touched the device on his wrist. "Terran fleet report." A voice replied instantly. "Commander, Karn advance units have accelerated. They will reach firing range in 10 minutes. Sala gasped. "They came so fast." Elias stood tall, calm. "They always attack early. They try to frighten their prey." Aaron felt his stomach twist. "What do we do?" Elias turned toward the city in the distance. "We fight." He looked at the 3 Tolari who had saved him. "And you 3 need to stay underground. Go to the crystal caverns. They are deep enough to shield you." Ren shook his head. "We will not abandon our people." Elias placed a steady hand on his shoulder. "You won't. You'll survive. That matters right now." Lyra watched him, noticing something heavy in his expression. "You think this fight will be dangerous even for humans," she said softly. Elias nodded. "This is not their full fleet. The Karn always test defenses first, but their main fleet is close behind." Aaron felt his blood run cold. "How close?" The Terran communicator buzzed again. "Commander, Karn primary warbreaker detected. Estimated arrival 4 hours. Lyra swallowed. "Warbreaker, what is that?" Elias's jaw tightened. A warbreaker is their strongest ship, big enough to level a continent. It can end a world in minutes. The Tolari stared at him, horrified. And it is coming here. Back to the capital, the shuttle flew back with urgency. When they landed, the city was no longer calm. Crowds had gathered in panic. Parents held their children. Shops shut their doors. Elders prayed in quiet voices. Above them, the Terran fleet repositioned itself, angling shields, charging weapons, scattering smaller ships like fast-moving stars. The sky itself looked like a massive machine preparing for war. Aaron stepped forward, raising his hands to calm his people. "Do not fear, the humans are with us." But his voice could not silence the trembling of the crowd. Then Elias stepped in front of the people. He didn't shout. He didn't command. He simply spoke with calm certainty. "Citizens of Tolara, you saved me once long ago when I was lost and broken. Today, humanity stands between you and destruction." The Tolari hesitated, listening. "You do not know war, you do not hold weapons, but you have something greater, kindness. You chose mercy when you found me." His voice grew stronger. "And now humanity chooses mercy for you." A stunned silence spread. Lyra whispered, "They listen to him, they trust him." Aaron nodded. "He speaks like a leader because he is one." Elias pointed to the sky. "The Karn come to take your world, but they will not succeed, not while a single human ship still flies." A cheer broke from part of the crowd, small at first, but growing like a wave spreading across the streets. Children lifted their hands. Elders raised their voices. Fear did not vanish, but hope began to replace it. The first clash, a sudden blast, shook the sky. A glowing Karn missile streaked downward, aimed directly at the capital. Screams erupted. But before the missile could reach the atmosphere, a Terran cruiser cut across the sky, firing a beam of blue energy that shattered the missile into harmless fragments of light. More Karn shots followed, dozens, then hundreds. Terran ships responded immediately, firing back with lasers, torpedoes, and shield bursts. The sky became a storm of colors: blue, orange, red, white. It was beautiful, it was terrifying, it was war. A warning from the flagship. Elias's communicator buzzed sharply. "Commander, this is the flagship. Karn enemy scouts are defeated, but the main fleet is accelerating faster than expected." "How far?" Elias asked. A pause, then 1 hour. Aaron felt his knees weaken. 1 hour until that warbreaker comes. "Yes," Elias said, "and when it arrives, the real battle begins." Lyra clenched her fists. "What can we do?" Elias turned toward the massive Terran flagship hovering above the clouds. "We prepare." He looked back at the Tolari. "And we hope." The human returns with purpose as the battle continued above them. Elias stood on the council balcony one last time before returning to the flagship. Aaron approached him. "You are different from the man we once saved," Aaron said quietly. Elias nodded. "Because of you, you taught me to value life, every life. Humans often forget that lesson." Lyra looked up at him. "Will you come back after the battle?" He smiled gently. "If I survive, yes. If the universe allows it, I will return." Aaron placed a hand on Elias's arm. "May the stars protect you, Commander Ward." Elias turned, walking toward the shuttle that would take him back to the flagship. As the engines roared to life, he looked back at the Tolari one last time. "Today," he said, "a human returns to repay a debt." His eyes hardened with resolve. "But tomorrow, humanity returns to change your destiny." The shuttle rose into the sky. The Tolari watched it go, wishing peace for the man who had once been a stranger, then a friend, and now a guardian. Above them, the Terran fleet shifted into final formation. Far beyond, the red glow of the approaching warbreaker lit the darkness. The real battle was coming, and everything would change. The sky of Tolara no longer looked like a sky, it looked like a war. Terran ships glowed blue and silver as they formed a defensive shield around the planet. Their engines hummed like giant hearts beating in perfect rhythm. Every formation was sharp. Every move was precise. Every vessel waited for the command that would decide the fate of a world. Below them, the Karn fleet approached like a storm of fire. Their ships were dark red and black, half machine and half organic metal, built for destruction. The engines sputtered with angry orange sparks, their hulls twisted like the bones of some ancient monster. Their arrival turned the sky into a battlefield long before the fighting began. In the capital city, Tolari citizens watched in terror and awe as the two fleets prepared to collide. Mothers held their children close. Elders whispered old prayers. Young workers stared at the clouds, unable to believe this was happening in their peaceful world. Nothing in Tolari history had prepared them for a war like this. Nothing could. The Warbreaker arrives. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Terran flagship, the TSS Horizon's Light. The room was enormous, filled with glowing screens, tactical holograms, crew stations, and soldiers moving with fast, trained precision. But no one looked calm. Every eye stared at the main view screen. Because the Warbreaker had appeared, it was the size of a mountain, a floating continent of metal and hate. 4 gigantic spires extended from its sides, each glowing with pulsing red energy. Its core burned with a molten, fiery heart that looked alive. The rest of the Karn fleet surrounded it like guard dogs around a king. Gasps filled the bridge. This is larger than our reports," a Terran officer whispered. Elias did not look away. The Karn have been upgrading. The Warbreaker continued to advance slowly, silently, like a god of destruction. "Distance?" Elias asked. 40,000 kilometers, the tactical officer replied. The Karn ship fired no shots. It didn't need to. Its presence alone was a weapon. Preparing for impact in the council hall below, Aaron, Lyra, and many Tolari leaders watched the same red giant in the sky. Aaron felt cold sweat on his skin. That is the Warbreaker." Lyra nodded weakly. "How can anything fight that?" But Aaron did not answer because he didn't know. Back on the flagship, Elias gripped the command rail. "All ships, defensive grid Gamma, keep the Warbreaker away from the planet at all costs." "Commander," the communications officer said, "Karn scouts are performing flanking maneuvers on the eastern quadrant." Elias nodded sharply. "Activate interceptors, push them back." The officer relayed the command. Terran ships shot forward, leaving blue trails across the blackness of space. The bridge vibrated as the first true volley began. Karn warships opened fire. Red beams, orange torpedoes, crackling energy bursts, they burst toward the Terran lines like arrows of fire. Terran ships answered. Blue lasers, white plasma rounds, shield bursts pushing back the assault. The sky above Tolara lit up with colors. The kind of colors no peaceful world should ever see. The first breach, a Terran destroyer took a direct hit. Its shields collapsed with a flash of white light. A second Karn blast struck it, ripping the ship in half. Pieces of the destroyed vessel rained through the sky like falling stars. Lyra cried out from the city below. "They're dying for us." Aaron placed a hand on her shoulder. "They fight because they believe our lives matter. We must believe too." But in his heart, Aaron felt a deep, painful fear. How many Terrans would die for a world that had never known war? "Elias takes command, Commander," shouted the sensor officer. "The Karn are breaking through Sector 8. Elias reacted instantly. "Redirect the 12th and 27th squadrons, force them back." "But sir, the Warbreaker is charging something. We detect a massive energy buildup." The lights dimmed for a moment as the ship's sensors overloaded from the reading. Elias froze. He had seen this before. The Warbreaker's main cannon. A weapon that could destroy a city or a continent with a single blast. "Lock all shields in its path," Elias ordered. "But Commander, do it." The Horizon's Light rotated, engines roaring, as it positioned itself directly between the Warbreaker and Tolara, a death spot, a shield, a promise. The Tolari watched from the surface. The Tolari watched the glowing Titan move into place. Aaron whispered, "He's placing his ship between us and that monster." "He will die," Lyra said, tears filling her eyes. Aaron closed his eyes. Then he dies as a guardian. The Warbreaker fires the red spires on the Warbreaker extended. Energy gathered at the center like a burning sun. Space around it trembled as if afraid. Elias stared at the view screen. All hands brace for impact. The horizon's light raised its shields to full. The blue dome shimmered around the ship like a glowing shell. Then the Warbreaker fired. A beam of pure red destruction, thick as a mountain, tore through space. It hit the horizon's light with a force that shook the entire flagship. Alarm sirens blared. Consoles exploded. Sparks rained down. The ship groaned under the pressure. "Shields at 60%, cried an officer. Another explosion rocked the bridge. "Shields at 40. The beam continued, unrelenting. "Shields at 20. Elias gritted his teeth, gripping the command rail. "Hold, hold." The crew held their breath. Then the beam stopped. Silence. The horizon's light floated, burning, damaged but alive. A cheer erupted across Terran channels. They survived. They blocked the shot. The Warbreaker didn't break them, but the celebration lasted only seconds. A new alarm sounded. "Commander," shouted the tactical officer. "The Warbreaker is charging again." Elias exhaled slowly. He knew the truth. The next shot would kill them. "A plan of desperation, sir," said the navigation officer. "If we try to block another shot, we'll lose the flagship and maybe the defensive grid." Elias's eyes narrowed. "We won't block it." Everyone froze. "So what do we do?" the officer whispered. "We attack." The bridge filled with shock. "Attack the Warbreaker?" an officer asked. "Sir, no Terran ship has ever disabled one." Elias smiled, a hard, cold smile. "Then today we make history." He opened the command channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Commander Ward. Begin Operation Dawnstrike." Every Terran captain froze, then answered, "Dawnstrike confirmed." "On your command, sir." "For Earth." The Terran counterattack. Terran ships moved like a tidal wave. The damaged horizon's light launched forward, engines blazing with emergency power. Other capital ships followed closely, forming a spearhead formation aimed directly at the Warbreaker. Karn ships scrambled to intercept. They fired desperately, but Terran interceptors cut through them like knives, clearing a path. Aaron and Lyra watched from the balcony, unable to believe what they saw. "Humans," Lyra whispered. "They're attacking the giant head-on." Aaron nodded. "They are fearless." The final charge of the horizon's light. Elias stood tall, even as smoke filled the command deck. "Bring us within 5,000 meters, he ordered. "Sir, that's suicide." Elias looked forward with steady eyes. "For Twilight and for Earth." The Warbreaker loomed ahead like a blood-red mountain. Its second cannon charge was nearly complete. Terran cruisers swarmed its sides, firing in concentrated volleys. Sparks and molten metal poured from its hull, but the Warbreaker did not slow. It did not feel pain. It did not fear. And then Elias saw it. A weak point. A small, unstable core junction near the left spire, glowing brighter than the rest. "Target that point," Elias commanded. "Sir, sensors show it's unstable. One hit might cause a chain reaction." Elias finished. "Exactly." The crew stared at him in horror. "Fire," he said calmly. The horizon's light launched a single bright lance of blue plasma. It shot across the darkness. It struck the weak point. A crack opened along the Warbreaker's surface. Then another. Then a massive explosion tore across its side. The red energy inside the Warbreaker erupted outward like a dying star. The monster falls. The Warbreaker split apart, its spires collapsing, its molten core spilling into space like burning rivers. The explosion was so bright that Tolara's sky turned white for several seconds. Every Karn ship froze. Every Terran ship cheered. Every Tolari citizen fell to their knees in disbelief. Aaron whispered, They destroyed it." Lyra covered her mouth. "Humans destroyed a monster." In space, the Karn fleet began to retreat, losing formation, scattering like frightened animals. The battle was ending. Tolara was safe. But the horizon's light was drifting, engines failing, its hull torn from the final blast. And Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge, smiling faintly as alarms screamed around him. He had kept his promise. The sky above Tolara glowed with the fading fire of the Warbreaker's destruction. Red and blue sparks drifted across the upper atmosphere like pieces of a dying star. Terran ships slowly returned to formation, their engines burning low, tired but alive. Below on the planet, every Tolari citizen stared upward in disbelief. Moments ago, the sky had been filled with terror, fear, and death. Now it held something else. Hope, light, victory. The unimaginable had happened. A peaceful, gentle world had survived a monster because the humans had stood between them and the darkness. The flagship in trouble, but the celebration did not last. A dull boom echoed across the sky. Not from the Karn, not from any enemy, from the Terran flagship. Smoke billowed from the horizon's light. Its engines flickered weakly. Cracks spread along its hull like dark veins. Sparks leapt from its shield generators. The earlier sacrifice, blocking the Warbreaker's cannon, had shattered half of its power core. Aaron stared at it with a heavy heart. They saved us, but their ship. Lyra grabbed his arm, eyes wide with alarm. They're falling toward the atmosphere, and she was right. The flagship was drifting lower, pulled by the planet's gravity. The engines roared, struggling to keep control, but the ship was heavily damaged, too damaged. It will crash, Aaron whispered. With thousands on board, Tolari citizens gasped, whispering prayers, covering their mouths, trembling. The people who had saved them were now in danger. Inside the horizon's light, alarms blared across the bridge. Red lights flashed urgently. Commander, rear thrusters offline. Primary engines at 12% power. Shield generators failing. We're losing altitude. Commander Elias Ward stood in the center of the bridge. Smoke covered his uniform. His forehead bled from a falling panel. His left arm hung limply at his side, but his eyes remained steady. How long until uncontrolled descent? Elias asked. 6 minutes, the officer replied, unless we regain engine power. Can we? Elias asked. The crew exchanged fearful glances. No, sir. Elias nodded slowly. Then evacuate non-essential personnel, prepare escape pods. The crew hesitated. Commander, if we evacuate, you must come too. But Elias shook his head. No, someone must remain to stabilize the ship. Someone must guide her down. The officers froze. They understood if he stayed, he would die with the ship. The Tolari reaction back on the ground, Tolari citizens screamed as pieces of debris fell from the dying flagship. They saved us, now they're going to die. A mother cried. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. We can't let this happen. We can't let them fall. Aaron clenched his fists. We owe them our lives. Now it is our turn. He turned to the council. Prepare emergency zones. Evacuate nearby cities. Clear the northern plains. If that ship must land, we must give it space. We must save as many Terrans as possible. The council members nodded, running to warn the people. Tolari transport vehicles scattered across the capital, moving crowds away from the predicted crash path. Crystal's trees were cut down. Entire neighborhoods emptied within minutes. Never in their peaceful history had the Tolari moved so fast. Never had they been so united. Never had they fought for anyone until now. The final message on the horizon's light, Elias opened a communication channel to Tolara. His voice echoed across the entire planet. This is Commander Ward. Tolari friends, if you can hear me, thank you. His voice was weak but calm. Aaron's heart twisted. He's saying goodbye. Elias continued. You saved me once. You saved a simple explorer. Today, humanity saved your world because of what you did. Static crackled in the transmission. Remember this, kindness shapes the galaxy. A small act can change the fate of many. His voice dropped lower. Evacuate the planes. We will attempt a controlled descent. Goodbye and live well. The transmission ended. Lyra burst into tears. Aaron bowed his head. The descent the flagship fell like a wounded giant. The sky burned around it. Fire trailed from its engines. Metals screamed as parts split off, falling like flaming stars. Terran escort ships surrounded the flagship, trying to steady it with tractor beams. Their engines groaned loudly, fighting the pull of gravity. But the flagship was too heavy, too damaged. Commander Elias stood at the helm, gripping the controls as the ship shook violently. "Commander, the heat shields are failing. Port stabilizers offline. We're losing altitude fast." Elias closed his eyes for a moment. He saw the faces of the Tolari who once saved him. He saw their small home, their kindness, their warmth. Then he shook away the memories. "Activate emergency landing gear," he commanded. "It's not enough, sir. We're coming in too hot." "Do it anyway." The crash that wasn't on the northern plains of Tolara. Thousands of Tolari lined the hillsides, watching with trembling hearts. The flagship grew larger and larger in the sky. Some Tolari cried. Some held hands. Many whispered, "Please, please survive." The flagship roared toward the ground. Then, at the last moment, something unbelievable happened. The sky opened again. A second wormhole burst into existence behind the falling flagship. A Terran reinforcement fleet arrived, medical cruisers, repair vessels, engineering ships, tug ships. A voice echoed across the Terran network. "This is Terran Support Command. We are here to assist. Hold on." Horizons light. 4 massive tug ships activated their magnetic fields, latching onto the flagship at high speed. Their engines flared bright blue. Their hulls shook from the strain. The Tolari watched with wide eyes. "They're trying to lift her," Aaron whispered. The tug ships pulled with all their power, engines screaming as blue flames filled the sky. The falling flagship slowed, then slowed more, then stopped falling. A collective gasp spread across the plains. The Terran support fleet held the massive flagship in place, stabilizing it in the air like a wounded bird. Elias collapsed to his knees, exhausted, staring at the viewscreen in disbelief. They had come for him, just as he came for the Tolari. The landing with careful control from the support ships, the horizon's light finally descended, slowly, safely, gently onto the northern plains. The ground shook slightly as it touched down, dust rising like a cloud around the landing zone. But it did not explode. It did not burn. It did not break apart. It lived, and so did Elias Ward. The reunion when the landing doors finally opened, Tolari citizens ran forward. Healers, workers, elders, children, everyone wanted to help the injured Terrans. Aaron pushed through the crowd, searching for Elias. He found him being helped down the ramp by 2 Terran officers. Aaron rushed forward, tears streaming from his eyes. "You survived," he whispered. Elias smiled, tired but sincere. "You too," he replied. Lyra came behind Aaron, her voice shaky. "The whole world prayed for you." Elias looked around. The Tolari had saved thousands of Terrans. They brought water, blankets, tools, medical herbs. They cleared debris. They carried injured soldiers. A peaceful species had become protectors. Aaron placed a gentle hand on Elias's arm. "It seems we have repaid your debt." Elias shook his head. "No, Council Leader." He looked at the sky, where Terran ships flew with Tolari rescue gliders beside them. "From this day," Elias said, "your people and my people are allies, not by debt, not by promise." His voice softened, but by choice. The ending and the beginning that evening, the 2 species gathered together, Terrans and Tolari, sharing food, stories, and hope. Children of both worlds played under the soft crystal trees. Soldiers rested, watching the peaceful sky they had saved. Aaron looked at Elias. "You changed our destiny," he said. Elias smiled. "You changed mine first." As stars filled the heavens, the Terran and Tolari banners fluttered side by side for the first time in history, and the universe quietly learned a lesson. Kindness creates the strongest alliances, and humanity always repays its debts.